Hi and welcome to my channel. My name is Sarah and I have been sharing my weight loss journey here on YouTube since April of 2020. In the last 3 years, I've lost 120 pounds. I lost 30 pounds before I had my weight loss surgical procedure. Then in August of 2022, I had a vertical sleeve gastrectomy, or VSG for short, and since then I've lost an additional 90 pounds. I share the ups and downs of my journey as well as everything I learn along the way. So if that sounds like it'll be helpful to you, go ahead and hit that little subscribe button. Don't forget to ding the bell. That way you get a notification every time I upload a new video. Of course, a big thank you to all of my returning subscribers as well. In today's video, I want to share 10 things that I wish I knew before I had weight loss surgery. I'm not really listing these in any particular order, but I guess if you wanted to put some sort of structure to it, I'm gonna start with number 10, work my way down to number 1, and some of these are a little bit more controversial than others, so don't be afraid to chime in with your opinion on any of the things that I list below. Of course, if you've had weight loss surgery already, go ahead and leave a comment down below that lets some other people who may be preparing for surgery know what is one thing that you just didn't expect and wish you had known before you had weight loss surgery. So number 10 would be more information about the honeymoon phase of weight loss surgery. The honeymoon phase is generally your first 6 months post-op. The reason why I wish I knew more about this time period is because it's really the best time period to get the max results from your sleeve. You really can't eat very much. You're learning to adapt and live life with your new, smaller stomach. But it was really easy to just kind of breeze through those first 6 months as I learned how much I can and cannot eat, what foods upset me, what foods don't. And now that I'm a little bit further along, I'm a little over a year post-op, I've learned that everything that I learned in that first 6 months is the most important information that I can use going forward in my journey. So the reason I share this with you is because you should know that it exists, and the further out you get from surgery, the more normal your life will become, and you have to really take to heart all of those bariatric skills that you learn in the first 6 months so that you can continue being successful going forward. Number 9 is your hunger will come back. I think we hear a lot in the bariatric community that when you have weight loss surgery, your hunger just goes away and you will rarely feel hungry. That may be the case for some people. I'm not saying that it's not true, but it was not true for me. My hunger definitely did come back, and I noticed myself feeling hungry more often than I did during that first 6 months after surgery. Now again, going back to what I just said, is that early on it's really important to recognize your hunger cues and then also your fullness cues so that you're just not mindlessly eating. Which brings me to number 8, and that is that food FOMO is a thing. If you don't know what FOMO is short for, it stands for fear of missing out, and you will definitely feel that, especially early on in your weight loss surgery journey. There are going to be times where you're at a social event or you're at a party, you're out to dinner with your family or friends, and there is going to be just all this food all over, and there are going to be times where you really get kind of sad about missing out on eating all of this amazing food. The way to flip that around is to keep in mind that you can have tiny amounts of the different foods. You just can't overeat like you may have in your pre-surgery life. It's just one of those things that you're going to get used to over time, but the first time you feel it, you will really feel it, and then it just gets easier from there. So keep that in mind as you're going through your weight loss surgery journey and learning how to maximize your tool. Number 7 for me is that the scars from your surgery are really not that big of a deal as they tend to get made out to be. I remember seeing on social media a lot of people doing like their scar comparisons, from when they had surgery to when they didn't. And looking back now that I'm a year post-op, it's really not that big of a deal. Like, my scars are very minimal. That might be different for everybody, but in my experience, I don't even really think about my scars at this point. I'm not self-conscious about them. I've worn a two-piece out in public and never really thought twice about my scars. Nobody's ever saw them and said, oh my God, what is that? It's just not that big of a deal. So if you're worried about scars, maybe that's like one less thing you have to worry about. Number 6 is that you will need vitamins and you'll need to take vitamins for the rest of your life, but you don't have to necessarily take bariatric branded vitamins. Bariatric branded vitamins are designed with bariatric patients in mind, and that's wonderful. However, and I have heard this from a lot of people in the bariatric community, a lot of those cause nausea and stomach pains. I am one of those people who also gets nauseous if I use a bariatric branded vitamin. I am sure it is from some combination of vitamins in there. I never really looked into it beyond knowing that they made me sick. So what I do is I just use a regular women's multi one a day, and then I have my calcium chews that I take on a daily basis to make sure I get enough calcium. What I'm basically saying is don't feel like you have to buy the bariatric brand vitamins from the doctor's office. Those tend to be, number one, really expensive when you can get the same vitamins, you know, for much less, or you can take a one a day. And it's also important to keep in mind that the doctor is probably going to really encourage you to buy those bariatric vitamins because they probably have a deal with the vitamin company so that they get a little bit of a kickback. That is not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, that's smart business, so I'm not pooping on that or anything along those lines. It's just something to keep in mind on why they might get pushed to you versus, you know, just going to the store and buying regular vitamins that contain the same ingredients. Number 5 is there are a lot of weight loss surgery stereotypes out there. Ooh boy, you are gonna hear some stuff. Just some examples of the stereotypes I've heard, and there are a lot of them, and I don't want to spend a ton of time talking about these, but one that I heard was that everybody who has weight loss surgery gets a divorce. Another one was everyone who has weight loss surgery turns into an alcoholic. And then another popular one was that everybody who has weight loss surgery gains it all back. None of these are true. Sure, these things happen, but these things also happen to people who have not had weight loss surgery. So you're gonna hear a lot of noise and a lot of stereotypes. Don't worry about those stereotypes and don't let that get too much into your head. Number 4 is know the difference between loose skin and fat. I spend a lot of time on social media. As you know, I post a lot on my Instagram, on my TikTok, and one of the most common types of posts you will see on any of those social media platforms is people showing their loose skin. This can be helpful for managing expectations. However, there are a lot of people who will show their loose skin, but what they are showing is actually not loose skin and it's still fat. I tend to see this happening the most on people when they're showing their lower stomach area. A lot of times the fat there is very difficult to get rid of. It's one of the last to go. And I will see people who are, you know, kind of like showing their loose skin on camera, and I just am like, that's not loose skin, that's still fat that's there. There's nothing wrong with still having fat. In fact, I think that's one of the things we should normalize is that regular people do have some body fat on them. The only people who have extremely low body fat are like bodybuilders, and they do it for a competition or a specific event, and then they go back to like a regular percentage of body fat. Now, I don't know those numbers. I'm not an expert by any means, but it's normal to have a little bit of fat on your body, so don't feel bad about it, but there is a difference, and you should learn how to spot the difference between somebody showing actual loose skin and then what is actually still fat, because there is a difference. Number 3 is that everyone, and I mean literally everyone, has some kind of opinion about weight loss surgery. There are going to be people who think it's great, it's wonderful, it's the best thing since sliced bread. And then there are going to be people on the opposite spectrum who think that everybody who has it dies, everybody who has it is unsuccessful, everybody this, that, the other thing. There are just so many opinions, and then you know what they say about opinions, right? Opinions are like, you know what? everybody has one and some of them stink. Similarly to what you hear about the different weight loss surgery patient stereotypes, take everything that people say with a grain of salt. Most of the time, people are coming from a place of caring and concern, and that's why they're willing to share their opinion with you. But the only opinion about weight loss surgery that ultimately matters is your own. Which moves us right into number 2, in that when you announce that you're gonna have weight loss surgery, it seems like everybody knows somebody who's had weight loss surgery. And again, you'll experience the extremes. You'll hear things like, my cousin's aunt had weight loss surgery and she died. And I was like, great, okay. Thanks for telling me. And I know that came from a place of concern. However, it's like, not really the thing you want to hear before you're going in for a major surgery. On the flip side of that, you'll hear some other things that people will say like, oh, I know a girl that I worked with and she had that weight loss surgery and she's unrecognizable, but she got too skinny. And so again, this ties in with some of the other things that I've said already, the stereotypes, the opinions. People have a lot to say about weight loss surgery. It's always going to be a little controversial until we break the stigma that is around it. And so when you hear that noise, just take it with a grain of salt and don't worry about anybody else except you and the relationship that you have with your surgeon. And if you are feeling nervous, talk to your medical team. They will make you feel better. And number 1, my most controversial opinion is that after weight loss surgery, everybody treats you differently. I did not used to hold this opinion in the past. I gave folks the benefit of the doubt and really truly believed that it was just up to a person to be nice or not, and that was their personality. But what I have found recently after losing this 120 pounds is that I am treated completely differently. And what I mean by that is that most of the time I find that men are much nicer to me and women are less nice to me. I don't know why that is. It's just what I notice. It's very strange because my personality hasn't really changed, except maybe now I'm a little bit more confident, but I'm still a pretty introverted person, believe it or not, and I still carry myself the same way in my conversations that happen outside of my home. So you may not want to believe that people will treat you differently after you lose weight, but I am here to tell you they absolutely will. And an extreme example of that, I go walking almost every day, and there is a very busy intersection that I have to cross. And when I was obese, I would have to wait for the traffic to go by. And now that I am not obese, I notice that very frequently, at least 2 or 3 times a week, traffic will actually stop for me to let me cross the street. And I didn't realize it at first, but that had never happened to me when I was obese, which is weird because I was crossing the street to go to the track. You would think that you should let that person go and get their workout on and just be nice. Or, you know, when somebody has to cross the street, regardless of what they look like, let them cross the street. But that happens a lot, and I know it's extreme and kind of weird and very specific, but it's something that I noticed. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And while you're down there, scroll to the comment section and let me know which of these 10 things you found to be the most surprising. Are there any that you would add to that list, or are there any that you would remove? I want to know your opinion, so feel free to chime in down there. And if you want me to dive deeper into any of the things that I listed out today, be sure to let me know. I'd be happy to do a video that kind of builds out on that. So until next time, I'll see you real soon. Bye.